Now, if you thought dissing dead ops in America was crossing the line, imagine dissing Mexican drug cartels that have their own private armies and behead anyone who comes incorrect. All I'm saying is I hope these narco rappers are getting paid because they're making enemies with some of the scariest humans on this planet. Trap music has blown the up around the world. That's not to say hip hop hasn't been doing its thing for the last couple decades. Ever since the 90s, we've seen how different nationalities and cultures have taken the blueprint and really ran with it. It might be crazy to say, but trap is definitely taking things further. Although trap started in Atlanta, it's became a global phenomenon that spawned all kinds of offshoots and remixes on the culture. One of the wildest ways trap has changed music is how it's completely altered a dark but significant part of Mexican culture. It's turned narco-corridos into trap tenos. If you don't know what a narco-corrido is, corridos have been around for hundreds of years in Mexico and can basically be described as stories told through song. They're basically ballads to glorify people and events that actually happened, and they've been a part of Mexican history for centuries. For example, someone might have written a corrido back in the day to celebrate a hero of a Mexican revolution. In the last couple decades though, corridos have gotten a lot more infamous through the rise of a subgenre named narco-corridos. Narco-corridos are exactly what you'd think. They're ballads meant to tell the real-life stories of drug dealers and kingpins in Mexico. While narco-corridos started becoming more prevalent around the 2000s, they've been around for over 100 years, when the first drug smugglers started operating around the border. But as Mexico's drug war has spiraled out of control and the cartels became more powerful, narco-corridos have become more popular than ever before. Now, usually narco-corridos are meant to be more like polka-style songs, but in the last couple years, there's actually been a whole new style of narco-corridos that are more influenced by trap and Atlanta culture rather than traditional Mexican music. Basically, as a whole new generation aged into the drug war, they've been looking for a vibe that reflects their taste and style. These new narcos are less likely to rock cowboy hats and boots that their OGs styled themselves with and are more into designer clothes and hip-hop. Trap thanos are basically narco rap. While musicians used to sing folk songs to honor and shout out cartels, now narcos are paying rappers thousands of dollars to make songs meant to commemorate them. While some narco rap songs sound pretty similar to the style birthed from Atlanta, there are others that remix the style even further so that it really comes off like a crazy hybrid between the polka corrido sound and trap music. Part of what influenced all this is that the Sinaloa cartel, which used to be led by El Chapo, had a bunch of plugs in Atlanta, and that connection fostered a whole new style of music. It's actually become a pretty lucrative business for rappers who specialize in only making narco dedications. The way it works is that gang members will directly reach out to rappers asking them to make a song about them called a dedication. A dedication might be inspired by a narco surviving a shootout with soldiers from an enemy cartel. In order for that narco to really talk their shit and cement their legacy, they might want a song recorded that adds to their mythology and status. Rappers get paid to make the music, but they usually have to get the go-ahead from one of the cartel bosses, just to make sure they're not speaking out of turn. The last thing any narco rapper wants is to offend the same cartel lords who run their clientele. But the thing is, any artist who decides to collaborate with the cartel risks being killed by rival gangs. Think about it, if you jump on a record to talk a whole bunch of shit about one gang affiliation, you're out of luck if you get caught by one of their ops. And you gotta remember, the drug war and cartel is dead serious. We're talking about cartels that send whole paramilitary squadrons to kill their enemies and who recruit kids as young as 9 years old to train them to become assassins. An artist who decides to make narco rap for the cartels might get paid for sure, but they're basically marked men for life. Back in the mid-2000s was when the more traditional narco corridos were really popping off. During that time period, a bunch of folk singers were assassinated and tortured because of their cartel affiliations. One really popular singer named Valentin Elizalde was shot and murdered after leaving his own concert along with his chauffeur and personal assistant. Another singer named Sergio Gomez was kidnapped. When they found his body, he had been strangled to death and his face had been burned off. These artists are not gangsters themselves. In America, artists who make trap music are usually puffing out their chest saying they're about that life. However, with narco rap, these rappers are making dedications to actual smugglers, dealers, soldiers, and bosses with specific cartel affiliations. One of the most popular and successful narco rappers out there is Big Los. Los grew up around Brownsville, Texas, where he started selling drugs as a teenager. While he did some time in jail, Los eventually realized he was passionate about making music and started rapping. After being deported back to Matamoros, Mexico in 2015, Los started focusing on recording raps for the Gulf Cartel, considered to be one of Mexico's oldest organized crime groups. Los pulls in at least 3 racks from every song he makes for the Narcos, and even nets an additional $3,000 if they want him to shoot a music video. Los is adamant that he's not an actual member of the Gulf Cartel and even denies being paid by them. Los claims that all their business dealings are handled through third-party facilitators. Still, Los makes a living by customizing songs specifically for Gulf Cartel gangsters. Even though Los was deported, he was smuggled back to Texas through a top-secret route used and protected by only the highest-level cartel members. Los's music is in such high demand that he's treated like a celebrity by some of the most powerful drug lords in Mexico. All potential positives aside, Big Los's life is in significant danger because of his Gulf Cartel connects. For example, Gulf Cartel's sworn enemy, Los Zetas, is famed for being one of the most brutal crime syndicates in the world, meaning torture, beheading, mass murders, all that's on the table. Big Los has already gotten death threats from the Gulf Cartel ops, and it would pretty much be a wrap if he gets caught lacking by the wrong people. Another narco rapper named 5050 recorded his first narco dedication to one of his homies, a Sicario who was part of the Scorpions. The Scorpions are a death squad created by Tony Tormenta, the brother of one of the Gulf Cartel leaders, and was designed to be a private army that functioned as the cartel's main muscle. 5050 started his career making narco raps specifically customized for members of the Scorpions, until 2010 when Tony Tormenta was killed during an 8-hour shootout with the military. With the Scorpions disbanded, 5050 realized he was in grave danger and has since descended into paranoia. If the Zetas ever caught him, his life is guaranteed to be over. Since then, he's pretty much stuck in Matamoros. It's likely that if he ever leaves, he'd be tortured and murdered by the Gulf Cartel's enemies. Trap Thanos basically functions as a PR campaign for the cartels. Not only does it help brand different gang factions like the Scorpions, but it also adds to their mystique and makes them even more notorious. It's also a really useful recruiting tool, which is part of what makes them so controversial. Because Trap Thanos are so modern and celebrate a flashy lifestyle, they also work as advertisements to help lure new members. As the trap sound has become more and more popular in Mexico, its influence has even boomeranged back to America, leading to a whole new rise in English narco rap songs celebrating different gangs in the US, like the Latin Kings in Chicago and the Serenos in LA. We've seen how narco corridos have changed so dramatically in the last couple years, and it's not hard to imagine narco rap gaining a bigger foothold in popular culture. While narco rappers are prevented by their cartel ties from pursuing a more formal music career, it's clear that their songs carry a huge amount of influence in the streets and also have the potential to pull in huge dollars for any artist willing to take the risk and work with the cartels.